Welcome to the Healing Light Wellness podcast. I'm Charlene Smart, a holistic healer specializing in emotional freedom technique and energy healing. My purpose in this world is to bring healing and peace into the lives of women just like you. This show is meant to be a journey of self-discovery, healing, and growth while introducing you to new techniques and strategies to help you live a more peaceful and happy life. Hello and welcome. I'm so excited to have you join me. And you're not alone today, or I'm not alone today. We are not alone today because I have Lisa Barrutia who's joining us.
Hello.
I have been really excited to introduce you guys to Lisa because not only are her and I going to start a separate podcast where we talk about healing journeys, but Miss Lisa has been on a soul journey. She has been on a journey of self-discovery, and we will get into a little bit of that here on this episode. Miss Lisa, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. I'm very excited for this podcast. I think this new adventure is going to be fantastic.
Me too. But are you ready to jump in and talk about your soul journey?
Sure. My journey started, well, I think we're all on a journey for a long time, but this particular journey started when I loaded up my RV and did a solo journey starting in October. Prior to that, in last July, I lost my mom. I didn't lose her. I know where she is. But they always say I lost my mom, and I always think that. My mom died in July, and the company I worked for also closed. So I found myself at loose ends and able to travel. And I moved into an RV and did exactly that. And started traveling mostly in the West and started learning a little about the new me. Because when you lose somebody that's that important to you, I don't know that you're ever the same person you were before you lost them. So that became a soul journey for me, dealing with grief and who I am now and what I want from life and getting to know myself.
Lisa, thank you. I am so sorry to hear about your mom. I know we all are, and it's a difficult thing to have to survive. And I know you're not alone. I know those listening are too.
And that's true. I've had some amazing responses from people who have gone through the same thing. And I find that I am so fortunate to be able to reach out and connect with a community who understands what is going on. And even if it's not the loss of a parent, any loss, that's what I have learned is loss is just universal, whether it is the death of a loved one or the loss of a job or the loss of a dream, whatever it may be, it does take some tools to get through, and you learn the tools as you go.
Absolutely. So you do see that a loss of a job can actually have the same impact or the same emotions as the loss of a loved one?
I do, and it's interesting because I never thought so before, but at the same time that I lost mom, the company that I had worked for 10 years and really dedicated my life to was on call 24/7, closed. The owners ended up divorced and the company couldn't survive it. But there was a serious loss of self at that point because I was so wrapped up in who I was as my job. So to have that kind of yanked out from underneath me, I know that both hitting at the same time was not helpful either. Having mom and the job and really kind of at loose ends. And it is interesting because most people don't think that they need to grieve a job, but sometimes you do. If you had it in your head where this job was going, so it's not just the loss of the actual going to work 9 to 5, whatever you may work, but the loss of what you thought it was going to be, and who you were in that role. That ended up being something that needed to be grieved for me, which sounds, when I first thought it, I thought, oh, that's kind of dumb. But true, there it was. And I don't think people realize that the loss of things like that also has to be grieved or dealt with, if you prefer to say it that way.
100%. And I commend you for saying it.
Yeah.
I know there's been times in my life where whether it's a job or it's a move, there are so many different things that we feel that grief, that loss from, but we think, oh, this isn't that bad. I shouldn't be feeling this way. I'm sorry that you had to experience both of those for you to realize that they really can be felt one and the same. But oh my gosh, what a gift for this world.
Yeah, it's been interesting. I talked to a friend of mine who happens to be a guy, and he's like, I would never have thought about a job loss being something that you would grieve. He's like, but looking back, he's like, I can see it now, but he would never, especially, big tough guy, would never think you grieve something like a job loss. There's another job around the corner, which there is, but you do grieve relationships and jobs and, deaths and, like you said, house moves. You can be excited about the new house, but you all of a sudden, all of your memories from the old house are gone or are just now memories and you can't look at a spot. So yeah, I can see that too.
So would you say we should give ourselves permission to grieve whatever losses we have, whether they are loved ones or not loved ones?
I would say that 100%. And I guess the way I look at it, and it took a little bit to get here, is if I had a friend come to me and say, you know what, I'm really sad about losing my job. I didn't see it coming. I didn't expect it. And it's really kind of taken my feet out from underneath me. Would I say to them, oh, buck up and move on? Probably not.
No.
So why would I expect me to do that? I am trying to learn, and it is a process, to give myself as much grace or care as I give others. And I think if we could all be as kind to ourselves as we are to others, and even strangers, we would be ahead of the game. But we'll be kind to strangers, but we're a little tough on ourselves sometimes.
I certainly can identify with that. And I know many, many people can as well.
Yes.
So kindness and compassion is what we give to other people. And you think it's as important to give it to yourself as well.
Yes, 100%. And I don't think we all find it easy to do that. We find it easier to have negative self-talk and even joking negative self-talk.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, don't be silly. Don't be crazy. Don't be a dork. Don't be whatever. I've said them all 100 times. Instead of, yeah, that doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
That is a hard place to be. But, and then I always bounce myself up with, but you'll get through it because you do. It's what we do. We get through it.
Absolutely. And getting through it is sometimes difficult, which how difficult it is, right?
Yes, but you don't always have an alternative. You always get through it. This is always my philosophy, is you get through it. It may take years, but you're doing a little step at a time. And you're further along the journey if you keep going down the journey. If you keep going through it and you just keep going, you get there.
I tell my clients that they have a choice, right? You can choose to stay exactly where you're at and nothing changes. Or you can choose to keep moving forward. And there is maybe not an end, but it changes as you continue processing.
Yes. And I will say that is the one consistent in life is change. Everything's going to change.
Mm-hmm.
The good's not going to be there forever. The bad's not going to be there forever. The grief will change. Did you hear the pause there?
I did.
The grief. Okay, so grief might be there forever, but in different degrees. How's that? I can't
like that.
I can't imagine. Well, I think that life is, oh boy, here we go. I think life might be a series of grief and joys and joys. But I do think that grief plays an important role in everybody's lives. I think grief makes you more appreciative of what you have.
100%.
Yeah.
And you mentioned joy in there, Lisa, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not just all grief. Sometimes it feels that way. I know that.
Yes.
But it's not all grief. We have joy.
You have joy. And joy is a hard thing. It seems like we recognize sadness and grief and anger and all that. And joy sneaks up on you.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to kind of embrace joy also. I used to say to someone, go find your joy today. Find your joy.
I love that.
But it's also when you feel joy and everything's going well, like you hear people say, I'm just waiting for the next shoe to drop. I'm just waiting for bad's coming. You know, when bad's there, we don't necessarily say, I'm just waiting for joy.
You're right.
So I kind of like the idea of embrace joy. When you have it, embrace it, because it won't be there forever. Chances are, something will come up and kind of dim the joy a bit. But if you can embrace it, embrace it.
I love that. And I'm going to tell you what, next time I'm feeling like, oh, when's the next shoe going to drop? And I start coming out of the joy, I'm going to say, oh, when's the next drop of joy coming? I love it.
Yes. Yeah. You and I talked a while back about glimmer.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes.
Okay. You want to lead in on that?
There was a day you and I were talking and you had used that word glimmer. And I wasn't 100% sure like what it meant. And you were so quick to explain the difference to me. And you explain it so well that I'm going to let you take it from here.
Oh, no, because I don't know that I can remember how I explained it.
Okay. So we were talking about how, we're so quick to say triggers, right? Like, oh, what triggers do you have? And in my world, 100%, we do have triggers. It is not something that we should just push away and ignore. But with our triggers, you said, Char, there's an opposite to that. And I don't know who it was you heard this from. And do you remember?
I saw it online on probably Instagram, and I don't remember who it was. I'd give credit if I could remember, because I thought it was fantastic when I saw it too.
Absolutely. So hopefully we'll run across it again and we'll know. But you had said this person used the word glimmer. Do you remember their definition of it?
It is the positive things that you remember, that like a trigger is for negative, the glimmer is for positive. And there are things that pop up and you see and automatically remind you of a camping trip, a good time at the ocean for you. Wherever it may be, something that just makes your heart happy, that doesn't make you cringe and feel bad, and whatever that a trigger may do, however the trigger hits you, the glimmer is the good things out there.
I love that. Which is those drops of joy, right? Yes, instead of waiting for the other shoe to drop, we're going to start waiting for the drops of joy. I love it.
Yes.
Absolutely. So Lisa, let me ask you this. You were going through grief on multiple levels. Is that what brought you to heading out on your soul journey?
So between the job and the grief from mom, there were several other things that had kind of hit at the same time. And the job that I was working at for 10 years came with housing. So I was living in that housing. So when the job ended, so did my housing. So I had a friend who had an RV that's like, just move into it. He was fantastic. I ended up buying the RV from him. And then I was still thinking that I would do the norm, which is get another job, find a different place, because I lived in North Dakota. So an RV in the winter in North Dakota is not ideal. So I thought I'll just find another place. And I had someone else say to me, why wouldn't you take this time and go south for the winter? And it had never crossed my mind. So then I started thinking about it and thought it's the perfect time. I am 57. It's not very often at 57 that you can pick up and go. Not have ties anywhere, which is freeing and a little nerve-wracking all at the same time.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how I ended up doing it. It became the soul journey, because the way that it ended, I was not anxious to go to work for another company again. So I kind of wanted to explore doing some stuff on my own and see where I wanted to go, what my next phase of life would be. And that's kind of become what this soul journey is. It is learning more about grieving my mom, and I've lost several people in my life. It's just the nature of life, and healing some old wounds, and dealing with the grief from the job, and figuring out where I wanted to go and be. And
are you done with your soul journey at this point?
No, I'm not done with the soul journey. So, and I have ended up taking on a job or two along the way, but the soul journey continues. I didn't realize in the beginning, I don't think, how much I needed the soul journey. And not everybody can take off and just dedicate that time. What I did learn is I didn't sit in a dark hole and just work on myself for several months either. Part of it was also exploring the areas I was in, moving to different areas, meeting different people, seeing different people, and spending a good chunk of my time alone, but also journaling. I have this fantastic counselor, healer online that I have been able to meet with. I think you might know her. Her name might.
When I look in the mirror.
Right. Look in the mirror. So all of that has kind of played into it. And am I in a different place than when I started? Yes. Am I done with the journey? No, but I don't know that we ever are.
I love that.
Are you done with your soul journey? Sure.
Oh, heavens to Betsy. No.
Oh.
And I didn't jump into an RV and explore other places. But you and I have talked about the fact that isn't needed to be on a soul journey.
No. And that is really the thing that I discovered is you do it everywhere. You do it while working. So this was the thing about grief and about growing and learning is the world doesn't stop for it. So you still, and especially grief, you still have to go to work, do your job, have your kids, have your husbands, have your spouses, partners, whomever they may be, and you still have to function as much as you can. For me, it felt like there was a disconnect between me and my life with my grief standing in between. So I had to get through some of that, but I had the luxury of being able to do it on my own a little bit, which helped in some ways. For some, maybe it works better if they have other people around. For me, it worked better to have some solo time. But I do think that as you get through further into it, I think soul journeys just are forever. I think you should always be learning and growing and coming into your next phase, whatever that may be, and enjoying the next phase.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you and I have actually chatted about your soul journey, and it has been so much fun, really kind of taking this journey with you a little bit. I mean, not with you. That would have been awesome. I'm still back in North Dakota, but being there and watching the growth take place and the changes that have taken place within you. We had mentioned when you started out on your soul journey, what your thoughts were of what it would look like. Do you mind sharing?
No, it's fine. So right before I left North Dakota, a friend of mine gave me a book, Healing Through Words, and it's by Rupi Kaur. It's RUPI KAUR. And this is kind of a book that you can write in that has some prompts and makes you think of some different things. So I've used this quite a bit. I knew I'd be talking to Char along the way. We weren't sure how the whole energy thing would go. Long distance has been fantastic. But in my head somehow, like one of my first stops was at Sedona. I knew from the beginning when I went to Arizona that I wanted to go to Sedona. They have the vortexes in Sedona with healing and stuff. And I thought, let's do that. Let's go see it. And Sedona is beautiful. So I felt like I was failing at one point because number one, I'm not as in touch with my body and emotions maybe as I could be. So everybody was like, you're going to feel all this stuff when you go to the vortex. And I was like, am I feeling anything? Do I feel it?
Right.
I don't know if I feel it. I feel good. Is that what I'm supposed to? But I would second guess myself instead of just letting it be what it was going to be. But the most important thing that Char is getting at is in my head, I thought I would go to one of the vortexes and I'd hike and I'd take my book and I'd sit on a rock in the peace and quiet and enjoy nature and write in my book. That's not what I did. So I thought I was missing the boat on that I was not doing what I was supposed to be doing to heal. So I talked to Char about it, and she said to me, let me ask you some questions. Do you normally feel the need every day to write in a journal? Like, no. She's like, do you normally feel like you want to go hike and sit on a rock? No. She's like, why would you think that for your healing journey, all of a sudden you would take the book and go sit on a rock and journal? I couldn't answer that question. In my head, though, that's what I was supposed to be doing. It wasn't realistic.
Do you think that some of that is because that's what the world shows us, maybe through movies and stuff?
Yes, I do. that they are there. And there are a couple of snapshots, even on the trip when I was in Arizona. There was one I was going to a trailhead. I like the way I say this, like I was hiking a lot. No, I drove to the trailheads, looked at how beautiful they were, and drove away. I hiked a little bit, but not like I'm not a serious hiker. Let's not get crazy about this. But there was a woman who was sitting back off on a rock and had a journal. And I'm like, and that's what I thought I was supposed to be. It's just not me.
No.
That's just not who I am. I saw a guy at Death Valley who was sitting in the back. He had like some kind of an SUV and the tailgate was up and he was sitting in the back and doing something. And I thought, see, probably journaling. It's not me. I tend to journal in my RV. Yeah, it's just not what I didn't do what I thought. That whole idyllic soft music playing in the background. I don't know. Yeah.
If you would have forced yourself into this view that the world has given you, and maybe I'm putting blame in the wrong place. Maybe it's not the world, but it's in our brain.
Yeah.
Okay, it's the world. If you would have forced yourself to sit down on a rock and journal, would it have helped at all?
No. And I say that because I would be so worried about, or in my head, I'd be thinking about the people walking by, snakes, things coming. I would be thinking of other things versus that. I found for me, journaling hits at odd times, and a lot of times it is 5:30 a.m. with a cup of coffee. It is just a quiet time, or every now and then it'll be, in the evening. And this book really helped me with 15 minutes. Set a timer. I didn't usually set a timer, but I knew that I didn't have to. It made it small. It made it easy. So that's what I learned, is to do things. Sometimes I would end up writing longer because it was just there and flowing. It made me start to think about writing a book, which I started to do on grief. But it gave it to me in bite-sized pieces to start, because I was in such a place that I needed only bite-sized pieces. Sometimes that's all you got in you. That's all you can get out.
And that's okay.
And
right?
That's okay. Yes, that's okay. You remember I wrote that. One of the exercises that was not in the book, Char gave me, actually. And she said, what would you tell to somebody who is going through a soul journey, that during the same time when we talked about it? Because I knew what I thought it was supposed to look like. But what would I tell people that it's really like, how to go through a soul journey? And I said that basically just what I said before is grief doesn't stop. But sometimes you're going to be sad, and that's okay. And sometimes you're going to be happy, and that's okay.
Yes.
Sometimes you want to go explore, and that's okay. And sometimes you want to hole up like a hermit, and that's okay. Just being able to give yourself grace and be okay with where you are in the moment is a lot.
And this is exactly why I wanted you to meet Lisa, because she has learned so much, not just about herself, but so much that can help others. So what I'm taking away from this is soul journeys in an RV are awesome.
Yeah.
And if you get the chance, go do it, but they're not required. Soul journeys look different to every single person. Lisa, I believe, so you talked about the guy in Death Valley that you walked by, and I believe I remember you telling me there was a gal sitting on a rock with her book out. That works for those individuals.
Yes.
But when you are trying to heal grief, when you are trying to process it, we cannot try to fit into somebody else's version of what healing should look like. We have to find what works for us.
Yeah.
True?
100%. 100%.
And it's going to be different for everybody.
Yes.
And you're going to have emotions that rise unexpectedly.
Yes, it's true. That is very true. And especially with the grief process, I think with any healing journey at all, you're going to have the emotions that rise. And grief especially, it comes out of nowhere. Something will happen and I'll think of mom. And that's okay. That's okay.
It is okay for us to feel exactly what comes up. Now, we might not like it. Okay.
Correct.
I sit with many clients who are like, I'm not crying. We're not doing this. I don't want to feel it. But those clients usually end up at some point or another along their journey, allowing those emotions to flow out of them, which is good.
It is good. And I tell myself, I just saw this recently too, is that I know that the grief with mom will pop up for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's supposed to. And I think that it comes down to she's earned it.
Yeah.
So she gets it.
And we don't need to push it down.
Nope. We're going to try not to, because I'm not very good at not, but I'm trying. We all know that.
Right? We're all works in progress, Lisa.
We're all works in progress. Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm trying not to push it down, but yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's one message that you would love for somebody to receive in this episode, what would it be?
Grief goes at its own pace.
Mm-hmm.
Give yourself the grace to be where you are, and don't worry about anybody else's timeline. Just be where you are, and it's okay.
Lisa, I love it. That is perfect. And I know this is going to connect with several different people, if not tons and tons, because your message is correct. Give it time.
Yeah.
Give it time. It'll change. Lisa, thank you so much for sharing that. Again, I know it will have a huge impact on many. If you are interested in following Lisa, she is on Instagram at My Chick Trip. And you can even catch her website at mychicktrip.com. Lisa also has an Etsy store where she offers self-care items and just all around personal healing. So journals, yoga mats, some yoga clothes, which I probably won't fit into, but that's okay.
Yes, you will.
Oh,
Yes,
I will.
Because I made sure I did, because I'm plus size. I made sure I'm available for plus size women, because why wouldn't I be?
Awesome. Do you know how large do they go, Lisa?
3, 4. I think 4X is the largest. There might be one set that's 5X, but they're all from small to as big as I could get them to be in that design.
Awesome. Lisa, thank you for being so inclusive. I love it. So if you are looking for any special self-care yoga items, head on over to Lisa's Etsy store at My Chick Trip. Lisa, thank you so much for joining us today. It truly has been a blessing for myself and so many others.
It has been a pleasure. I have enjoyed it thoroughly.
And I can't wait to see what happens as we grow our new podcast.
I agree.
If you have enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to like and subscribe to it. If you are interested in working with me and would like to explore your soul journey, or even begin to process or continue processing your grief, please reach out to me. I'm at healinglightwellness.com, and I will actually put the link to schedule a session or even a free consultation in the episode notes. And until we meet again, may your days be filled with love and light. Thank you so much for joining me. If you've enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and feel free to reach out to me anytime. I love Facebook and Instagram and can be found at healinglightwellnessonline, or you can always email me at charlene@healinglightwellness.com. Until we meet again, may your days be filled with love and light.